What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This one is brought to you by Mack Weldon. Mack Weldon is here to bring you a new type of undergarment. It's a simple mission, folks. Make sure all your basics and beyond are smartly designed and that shopping for them is easy and convenient. You see, Mack Weldon started from scratch and engineered their own fabric. The difference is in the details, so they obsessed over every stitch and seam until they reached their definition of perfect. And then they took that fabric and made premium men's essentials that believe in smart design. They've got a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial, which means they eliminate odor. That's great if you want to pack light or if you go on road trips, if you work dirty, whatever it is. If you go to the gym a lot, you probably want clothes that are not going to absorb the stank, folks. And if you're a traveler, you might want to be able to wear stuff more than one day in a row. That really helps with that. Mack Weldon's socks, underwear, and shirts, they don't just look good. They perform well too. For working out, going to work, going on dates, just everyday life. The fit is excellent. I bought some of the shirts. They really fit me nice, and I'm going through, I'm losing a little bit of weight, so I'm going through new stuff and trying to buy more fitted clothes. I'm liking it, folks. Here's the offer I've got for you. 20% off your first order. Go to MackWeldon.com. Enter promo code SMOKINGTIRE. Promo code SMOKINGTIRE at MackWeldon.com. That's MackWeldon.com. MackWeldon.com. Promo codes Smoking Tire. I got the best price around for you on this stuff, folks. How about Autotempest.com? They've been with us for a while. They save you time, and that means they save you money by bringing all the biggest car sites together into one search engine, plus a bunch of the smaller ones. It's going to save you time, folks. You don't have to type in that you're looking for a 1993 to 1996 Mustang GT in red with a stick shift within 300 miles of your city. You don't have to do that over and over. That's tedious, boring work. You don't want to do it. Auto Tempest does it for you. And then they compare your results with all of Craigslist, not just the area around you, and Facebook marketplaces. It's fantastic, folks. It saves you time versus trying to check everywhere yourself. There's no special code. Just do it. Just go to Autotempest.com, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just browse, and bring all those search sites together into one place. The holidays are here, and that means you're looking for gifts for people, you're looking for gifts for other people, your loved ones, maybe even yourself. Crown and Caliber, folks. Maybe you're looking for a nice watch. Well, guess what? Only suckers buy nice watches brand new. They're like cars, except they are generally taken better care of. And so what you want to do is buy a watch pre-owned from a place like Crown and Caliber. And Crown and Caliber is great because you know the watches you're buying are authenticated. You know they're going to work, and they're backed by a limited mechanical warranty, even vintage pieces. So if the watch shows up and it's not telling time right, they will fix it, folks. Crown and Caliber has been with me for 3 years now. They are a great sponsor. They keep over 2,000 watches in stock at all times. You can trade your watch in just like you would a car. You can sell them your watch just like you would a car. And in fact, if you want to buy a brand new Breitling watch from Breitling themselves, you can trade your watch to Crown and Caliber, and that can be credit in Breitling's store. It's actually very cool. I got a code for you. Ready? TST175. Go to crownandcaliber.com and use code TST175 to save $175 at checkout. That's code TST175 at crownandcaliber.com. Lastly, it's the ThinkWare Dashcam, also a great gift for the car guy or gal in your life. The U1000, it's available. It's able to capture clear and crisp videos of your drive. The U1000 is the very first 2-channel dashcam in the world to boast a native 4K front and 2K rear resolution screen camera. In addition to its amazing video quality, the U1000 can also save you money with its speed and red light camera alerts or make you a safer driver with lane departure and front collision warnings. With the convenient remote live view and parking impact alert cloud features, you can instantly check on your car or be notified of potential hit and runs. The U1000 and ThinkWare's full range of dash cams are available online and in-store at thinkware.com, Best Buy, and Amazon in both the US and Canada. With coupon code SMOKE20, that's SMOKE20, SMOKE20, you can receive 20% off any regular price ThinkWare dash cam. That's coupon code SMOKE20 at thinkware.com and receive 20% off of any regular price ThinkWare dash cam. All right, folks, on this episode of the show, we've got the author of the new book, Ludicrous, all about Tesla. Ed Niedermeyer is in studio. I have been following this guy for a while. I think he has a very balanced take on the company. His book, Ludicrous, is a great read. I blasted through it in about a day and a half. It does not have any new gotcha crazy information. What it does is it analyzes objective truths about the company and organizes them into a way that you can really see a pattern of behavior that I find to be very interesting. So on this episode of the program, which we actually recorded about 3 days before the Cybertruck reveal, so there's no Cybertruck in this at all, and I think that really would have changed the tone of the conversation, and I hope to talk to Ed again about that someday, but it's pre-Cybertruck Tesla talk with Ed Niedermeyer, the author of Ludicrous.
Whoa! What up, folks? It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. I'm trying to not be angry right now, but I'm not mad at Ed Niedermeyer, who is here after, God, it feels like I've wanted to have you on the show for a long time. The author of Ludicrous, the unvarnished story of Tesla Motors, on bookshelves and wherever you buy fucking books now.
Yep.
Is it NY Times bestseller? Are we there?
No, not yet.
Get it there, people.
Yeah.
Ludicrous.
Buy the book.
Buy the book. I read it. I read the freebie you sent me, and this one, maybe we'll do a giveaway with this one or something.
Sure.
We'll give it away on Instagram. Bienvenue. Welcome, dude.
Thanks so much. I've been like really wanting to talk to you for a while too.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Now is the chance.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do this. You tweeted the other day, maybe yesterday or the day before, while you were in LA, some of your observations about LA traffic and urban planning, because I think you, more than just purely talking about Tesla, I think, you're in tune with the sort of the autonomous landscape as these companies see it, and part of that is infrastructure, highway design, urban planning, a big part of it, mind you. So, you're from Portland, you're here in LA, this is the city of cars, we have fucking no public transport, this is the hub where Tesla is, or their factory is, or their headquarters, design studio, excuse me.
Yep.
What the fuck is going on in our city, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Get a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
or bring it to you, either way.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually born in LA, which I don't think a lot of people realize.
I don't think of you as an LA person.
No, I'm not. I was like 3 when I moved out. But it's crazy. I haven't been here in a couple of years, and I know it probably hasn't really even gotten worse since last time. Maybe, has it?
I saw some responses on your Twitter thread, and a couple people said that it hadn't gotten worse. In my opinion, in the 10 years I've been here, and Zach has been here for about the same amount of time, I think the traffic is worse.
Yeah, totally.
Than it was when I first moved here.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly see a lot of fucking Ubers and Lyfts running around.
That definitely is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's a congestion problem, which is weird because it's supposed to fix it, but it's still the same number of, not the same number of cars, but it's still a lot of cars on the road.
Well, do you think that, I don't know if you've read the statistic. I read another book that I really liked called Super Pumped, The Battle for Uber.
Yeah, great book.
Have you read that book?
Oh, yeah.
That's a fucking cool book, too. And not to tread on your book
No.
but it's similar to your book.
If you had to buy one, I'd probably buy his.
No. I think your
Don't
book.
say that.
I know. I'm such a good salesman.
No, seriously, your book, that book about Uber, and the Theranos documentary, are literally just parallel stories in 3 different industries, really. Like, there's so many parallels where, like, people that should be smarter will go to bat for bad and impossible ideas if they believe in the cause more often than if they're trying to do something malicious.
Yeah,
that shit is crazy.
Yeah, that is the most interesting thing in that Theranos document. I mean, the story itself is fascinating, but that element is really eye-opening, and especially if you've covered, Tesla.
Yeah, well, you see the same thing with Elon Musk, right? People have this belief in him as this almost prophet-like character, and there's this very bizarre transitive property that makes no fucking sense to me, where he's like, well, he made a rocket land.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, hang on, let's unpack that.
It's impressive, right? But not relevant.
Right. Yes. Like, it's like being like, but he juggled chainsaws.
Right.
It's like, well, that doesn't mean he can program a fucking GPS.
Well, it's like if a neurosurgeon pitches a TV show, they're like, this guy's clearly smart. It's like, at something else.
I bet if I got a hole-in-one, I would just, anytime anyone questioned me, ever,
but
I'd be like, I got a hole-in-one once.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Didn't think so.
So, like, how did we end up to a world where the billionaire kind of visionary is this revered character, and the nuts and bolts kind of people really doing the work are like cast aside, sort of?
Yeah. Well, I think so. One of the things that really it was important for me to understand was a point in Ashley Vance's book. Have you read the Elon Musk? What's it called?
The biography. No,
yeah.
I haven't. Even though you're reading your book, I feel like I read like half of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you reference it a lot.
I reference it a lot because it is the definitive sort of work about Elon Musk, and the point that gets made is that he cares about humanity so much, and yet doesn't care about individual people.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
And he also, at least according to your book and other things I've read, he seems to be doing it for humanity, and yet if you look at a lot of the actions, they are very, if not self-serving, certainly serving of his own company's survival.
Yeah. I think the mix of sort of ideological and financial incentives is a really, really powerful thing. Since I've been reading for fun, I read a book about the Fourth Crusade. And
like religious crusades.
The Crusades, the Fourth Crusade, and it's where it all went off the rails because basically the Venetians, were having trouble with the Byzantines, and they basically through this series of events ended up setting out to go take Jerusalem. But they were short on money, and there weren't enough people, and they were in debt to the Venetians. So they ended up sacking Constantinople, like the biggest Christian city in the world. And
we got to sack something, you guys. We're here.
I built all these swords.
It's also an interesting story. My point being, though, is that like it was also this mix of financial incentives on the part of the Venetians and their trading competition with Byzantium, right, or Constantinople, and then on the other hand, this crusading, ideological thing, and you start to mix these things up, and it's like it goes in weird directions.
Right,
you lose control.
So, all right, let's kind of back it up for a minute, and I think people who haven't read your book and people who haven't seen my car reviews and only read my Twitter account think that you're a hater and I'm a hater, and that you're a short and I'm a short,
right?
And I have no financial position in any car company, even through other funds or anything. It would be ridiculously unethical for me to do that.
Right.
Other people don't feel the same way I do, but that's fine. It's not fine, but it's their business, not mine. But the book is not an expose. It's not a tell-all, or it's not like a bombshell.
Yep.
I think what it does, and what you point out that it aims to do really well, is it steps back from the individual days where you're overloaded with information and can't process anymore, and takes a big picture look. So tell me why you did it that way and why that is important.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is because I am extremely online myself, and I suffer from this problem that you're talking about, which is you get so caught up in what's happening today that you don't look at the bigger narrative.
Yeah.
And I think, especially when there's this, all this constant debate throughout Tesla's history about whether they're gonna, make it or not or whatever. Like, you need to understand what's actually happening to understand that. And the reality is, we do live in a time too where people make arguments for their narrative value rather than their connection to reality. And like, people, again, I think, people get attached to these narratives, these ideas. And what's fascinating about Tesla fans, for example, is like, they don't talk to people who work at the company for the most part, other than maybe like their salesperson. You know what I mean? They don't want to actually understand.
They don't talk to like people, like corporate people or design people or factory workers or anything. It's really just the retail and service end of the business, and then Elon on Twitter.
And a whole idea and story and narrative that they have created that feels right to them. And like,
is it because the idea of, well, I feel like it's a combination of the fact that electric cars really do feel futuristic compared to gas cars.
They do.
All electric cars.
Yes.
Tesla, in combining the iPhone, iPad type interface, makes the most cell phone like car, and therefore the car that you are able to develop a very personal connection with, in the same way you have a personal connection with your phone. Your desktop patterns, your ringtones, your day night shit like that. I feel like when you interact with a Tesla, it's much more like interacting with your phone, and it feels more like yours as opposed to a Corolla.
Right.
Now maybe someone with an air-cooled 911 might have a different type of connection to their car, but
of course.
But the car becomes this extension of your online life, really.
Yep.
Which is so appealing if you hate driving.
Yep. No, and Tesla's success does totally show what a gigantic blind spot the entire auto industry had.
Totally.
In not realizing there's all these guys making a ton of money from technology, and maybe cars should be trying to appeal to them. And the thing is, tech, not only are people making a lot of money in tech and can afford nice things, but they have tech. The high tech sector has huge cultural sway right now.
Right.
It is the place. Right. It's what Detroit was.
Which is so weird.
In the first half
you
of
ever
the
hang out in Menlo Park? It's so strange. It's like the most introverted town.
Yeah.
like my wife worked at Facebook for 2 years.
Okay.
And so we had an apartment in Redwood City, and we'd be up there and back, and I'd be like, and we had this balcony on our apartment. I mean, it overlooked Redwood City. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But you'd hear muscle cars and shit you'd hear cars all over the place, and you'd see Teslas and you'd see EVs and Volts and Priuses and whatever, and bike shares and all this bullshit. But you'd also you'd hear that, oh, that's a Shelby, and you'd hear it running around. And so the people were spending the money on this stuff, but there's no social life there. Like, nobody goes out. It's like the most introverted, weird thing. It was very, very strange.
That was their individual experience of wanting to experience something like a Shelby.
Yeah,
so they buy
well,
a
it's
Shelby.
it's
their
like these
Shelby.
awkward people that I meet at these car shows where the car is really an outfit for them.
Yeah.
Because they can't really express it without the car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And cars have always been that to some extent.
Yeah.
Or tried to be that. And Tesla has that's it. So Tesla also just, it's a throwback in a way, because in the first half of the 20th century, and even up into parts of my lifetime, even, well, not really, but car companies had cultural sway. They showed people what the future was going to be,
at least through
or
GM
tried.
Motorama and shit like that. And
but even and so the thing I compare Tesla's cell phone ness, the extent to which it is the most cell phone like vehicle, I compare it in the book to tail fins, right? Right, because it's about aesthetically communicating that you're in touch with whatever the hot vision of the future is right now. And people in the 50s and 60s, in the 50s, they did try to make rocket powered cars.
Yeah, the turbine
Chrysler,
car. Yeah, Leno's got one.
Yeah,
he
I know.
drives it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and government money went to actually seriously jet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And obviously that was really dumb, but what was really smart was having the aesthetics of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
yeah, they made cars that looked spaceshipy and rockety for 10, 12 years.
Right.
And really, really inspired by rockets.
Right. So Tesla's UI and the big screen, it makes it the most like a smartphone of any car.
Yeah.
But then there's a question that nobody asks, which is a smartphone the right thing for a car? Are cars smartphones or are they something else?
Yeah.
Does what works in smartphones also definitely work for cars? It's not necessarily the case, right? Because
no, it's not. But some of it does. You know, I actually had a Model 3 for a week, like 2 weeks ago, and I got really used to interacting with the tablet.
Okay.
I found it to be, well, first off, it's way faster than and more responsive than anyone else's touchscreen.
Yes.
And so just having that was enough to really make it the best of those systems.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited by what I see with Ford's little mache, with the mache deal. The mache.
That's good.
And,
I'm going to use that.
And you know, it was pretty nice, man. And I had to say, after using the cell phone key for a week, I think that eliminating it's time to eliminate the fob. Give me a key I can turn that's cut out of metal, or give me my phone, but we don't need the big heavy fob with the battery anymore.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I like having the fob because then I don't have to worry about charging a separate thing. Like, I know we all keep our phones pretty charged and stuff, but just...
Well, I carried the card as the backup. The credit card is the backup.
Yeah.
That's
which
okay.
you do need.
I guess I would want to have a second
the app's
system.
not perfect.
I mean,
your phone can die.
Yeah, no, and I think what I've heard is that there are challenges with the just the whole infrastructure of over the air, and like sometimes it just goes down for a while. We know it does.
That would be a problem.
I mean, Electric reported.
Of all people.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's like that kind of shit is, and admittedly, that kind of stuff is great right up until it lets you down and is the worst. And most people would never give their car the kind of leeway they give their phone.
Yes. And I think that's what people so the responsiveness of the Tesla screen, like that is everything in engineering is a trade-off. Right? And what do you trade off to maximize performance?
Durability, usually. So this is where we go to the non-automotive grade screens.
Yes.
Does the Model 3 have non-automotive grade?
The Model 3 screen I have not investigated.
Because I know that this was in the S. This was a big deal, right?
Well, and the X,
and the X.
Yeah,
so
the X.
You want to explain what that is?
Yeah. So in Ashley Vance's book, referencing it again. I should start charging him like commission on the sales.
Cha-ching,
I'm selling his book
cha-ching.
better than I'm selling my own.
It's an interesting enough topic that you could read multiple books.
No, there's room for like 10 books on there. Yeah, no. Tim Higgins from the Wall Street Journal is writing a book. It's gonna be great.
Cool.
Like more the merrier. Like pile in. So in Ashley Vance's book, Elon Musk brags. He tells this story about how their suppliers, they were talking to their suppliers about the Model S screen. They wanted to be the biggest. I think it's like 17 inches.
Yeah.
And they kept referring them to the automotive division, and the automotive division didn't have anything, big enough.
Yeah.
And so he went back and was like, we'll just use this thing, this commercial grade.
Which is pretty much like it's like a tablet screen, like a consumer grade.
So it's not actually, so it's actually industrial grade. It's sort of like a little bit above most consumer spec, at least within
cash register, like touchscreen cash register kind of grade?
Industrial, like factories and stuff like that. Yeah. Right. So the main thing is that the thermal extremes that it's tested to are just a little bit higher. They're not quite automotive grade, and actually within automotive grade, there's several. It's nerdy.
It's not that simple,
stuff. But there's a minimum for automotive grade. It's just a little bit below it, and in what he told Ashley Vance was like, our engineers tested it and it was fine. So like, the auto industry, implying the auto industry is just dumb for having their own automotive grade screen. It's just this dinosaur thing, right? So anyway, they use this model of screen, ends up being revised like 4 or 5 times or something like that. But they have a series of problems. And I found out about them
there's like the lines, right? Lines is one.
By reading, in the forums, you just start seeing these things. I'm like, this has got to be some one-off little thing. And you get more and more and more of these people saying, yeah, that's happening to me too. It started off with little bubbles would form on the side of the screen. And what was happening is like the adhesive between the touch screen and the actual display
it was melting.
would like lose its viscosity. Yeah, it would melt and like sort of like ultimately form bubbles and then drip out into your car.
Yum.
Yeah. So that was.
The screen gets pretty hot just being on, even like on a normal temperature day.
Yeah,
It is the
climate
hottest-
control is operating around it too.
Yeah.
the hottest part of the car.
Like-
So they, you can find studies of like thermally where the extremes
It's
of the
right
car.
under the windshield. It's like cooking from the top.
Totally.
always.
Everything comes together right there.
Yeah.
Plus Tesla throws in another GPU for the autopilot.
Oh yeah.
On
A lot
top
of
of
processing
it.
power in there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's heat.
So like I have a comparable example, which is when I went on the to use GM as an example, like I think it's a good example because they're the biggest, oldest lumbering machine around,
Yep.
and also because they're morally imperfect as well. But from strictly a hardware perspective, when I went to Road Atlanta for the Corvette ZR1 launch last year, the big 750 horsepower one, they have that onboard dash cam with the telemetry and all that stuff, the track timer or whatever they call it, right?
Sure.
And it was literally 720p. And I'm going, guys, it's 2019. What is this 720p bullshit? And they said there isn't a 1080 camera that you can put inside of a windshield right now that can handle a 10-year durability cycle in order up to our standards. And I was like, fucking bullshit. I'm carrying an iPhone. They're like, yeah, right. Leave your iPhone in your dash for like 3 days and the camera's going to melt.
True.
Yep.
We've had GoPro shut down being
Yeah.
outside, full exposure to air and stuff, and they get too hot.
Alex Roy and I lost like half our GoPros when we drove across India.
Ugh, really? Just from the sun?
Just heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that to ignore those standards, like it's I think the dichotomy of Tesla is like you move the industry forward, but sometimes it's like, bro, they figured some of this shit out. You don't have to reinvent everything.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting talking to. It's funny because there's a lot of companies out there that are clearly they've started up since Tesla kind of became successful and are clearly inspired by them, but also privately will say that they have learned a lot of lessons from Tesla about what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to
respecting the existing auto industry is probably the most common one. Yeah. It's just like understand suppliers are actually pretty damn good at what they do and are in a tough business themselves, and like try and find mutually beneficial relationships instead of. Yeah.
Like there's always room for improvement in industries, but I think there can be a little bit of hubris when someone comes away from the outside and they go, watch how this is fucking done.
Yeah.
And someone's like, dude, I've been making headlights for 80 years. Like,
well, it's easy. I mean, I'm dealing with the bureaucracy of the city right now. You know what I mean? In building this building, and I've told myself so many times, like, what? How could this be like this? What But I'm sure that behind this, what seems like something really stupid, is a bunch of failures, and then someone made a procedure to avoid these types of failures, and I don't know it because I don't fucking know everything. You know what I mean? And that's just like how life is. But like building cars is so fucking hard.
Yep.
So fucking hard.
Yep.
And I think the hubris comes in not just like admitting that is hard.
Right.
And admitting that you're in like the manufacturing business, because this, what is this financial? Forget the stock, okay? Because I'm not betting on the stock.
Right.
You only win on Tesla stock, by the way, by not fucking buying any. Either way, up, down, just don't buy it. Just stay over here and watch.
Yeah.
But like, how? Most companies will build a car for call it $30,000 and then sell it for $40,000, and that's the business model.
Right.
That's not happening here, though, is it? So what's happening?
Well, the funny thing is that I mean, that is right. That is what Tesla is. That's the business they're in. That's, for such a disruptive quote unquote company. I mean, they are an auto manufacturer and seller, and which is. There are definitely companies that are taking different approaches than that to try different things. But look, what the story in the book is of Tesla underestimating how hard it was to develop and make a real car, and then running out of money, having to raise more, and getting into this cycle of having to continually raise large amounts of money on an ongoing basis, which then requires stories.
Yeah, the hype machine has to keep going.
That's exactly right. Yep.
And that's where you get into this pyramid-shaped structure,
right?
Where the company can only survive and fix these problems if you get money by hyping the next product that may or may not exist.
Yep.
But you need that money because you got to fix this shit you told everybody you already fixed like 6 months ago.
Right.
And round we go.
Right.
But eventually what happens is you run out of stories.
And honestly, I think full self-driving,
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know how much farther it can go on the tech side. Like the tech story, I think they're all in on it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't look like a strong hand. I honestly, to me, the only way to interpret that is just desperation. They're not doing these things because they think they're so much smarter, they can rip people off or anything. They're just doing what they have to.
They just need
survive.
cash now.
Call J.G. Whitworth. Need cash now.
Which, okay, but there's no humility about it. That's the part that's weird, right? It's okay to have a business that has some things going really, really well for it and other things not. You can fix that if you get the right help. You allow yourself to be helped. But unfortunately, Tesla has really become an extension of one person. And car companies used to be like that back in the old days when they were little and it was a Wild West business. You had
I just saw Ford versus Ferrari last night, and
Yeah.
that's what they're going for the entire fucking flick.
Yep, and there's thousands of companies that have gone bankrupt that were these people. And what's emerged over time is big companies that are scientifically managed, quote unquote, for lack of a better way of putting it. You don't see giant egos. So Sergio Marchionne was maybe an exception to this. Bob Lutz, obviously, the big personality.
Yeah.
But that's the exception to the rule in the car business, and it's because
you don't know who the
sport.
CEO of most car companies right now. Even if you're a fan of cars, you generally don't know that.
Well, to go back to what we were talking about before of when this celebrity billionaire entity kind of emerged, like you were saying, back in the 50s, 60s, we know who the CEO of car companies was back then because they were a little more in the front line.
Yep.
But also, I think it's taken a long time for those names to be passed to generations. We have to make movies like Ford versus Ferrari, and you read these books by A.J. Baim and stuff about who was Henry Ford and da-da-da-da. And then in the 90s, you had Steve Jobs, and you had computers that finally become personally, you can own them personally, and it changes the entire world. So everyone's excited. And then you speed up the information that can be spread, and now you can suddenly say, who made these amazing things we have? Those people, and you can get it put on your screen at your house and read about them, and it just ramps up from there. Mm-hmm. So now whenever there's a sexy new app that does really well or a new tech company, we have the hardware to hear about it. Yeah. And I think that brought about the celebrity billionaire, and that's why you have Mark Cuban on a TV show, and everybody knows these names.
Yep.
Well, Hollywood also
Absolutely.
Placed Elon Musk at sort of the inspiration for Iron Man and whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah,
our
absolutely.
country is full of people that are so fucking stupid. They think that shit's real. They literally think that shit's real.
Well, we love a hero, and now we have the heroes used to be athletes, soldiers. And then in the 90s, it's now we look up to smart people, and they say, nerds will inherit the earth.
Because if he can code, I can code. He's better at coding than me, but it's the same thing with fucking YouTube and podcasting and stuff. It's I don't know, how old are you, Ed?
36.
Okay, so I'm 37. So I don't know about you, but I like watching people do shit that I can't do.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch someone do the thing that I can do,
right,
but who just does it a little better than me. Right. I want to watch people do some crazy shit, but it seems like the audience now wants to relate to that person, so they're watching them play video games, or they're watching them do Minecraft, or they're watching them do a thing that they can also do.
Yep.
So I think that with software and creating of shit like that, the bones of that you can do.
Yeah.
So it seems achievable.
Yeah.
Well,
no, and really, in a way, Tesla is filling is it's not so much doing something new as actually filling, I think, a gap that we didn't realize existed, which was this sort of the cultural power of car companies, basically, and cars. That's been disappearing for decades now.
Yeah.
And we no one's really sure why. And I mean,
there's
of
kind
us
of
who are
a
obsessed with
hatred
cars,
of cars in the mainstream. Cars are getting a little less cool.
And you live in LA, and
driving them here is fucking shitty. Driving them here sucks.
For me, it is like I think I said on Twitter, it's like the dream of automobility turned to a nightmare, because it's exactly the opposite of what cars are supposed to do.
Yeah,
and it's
to help you get farther faster.
Yes, and not be stuck with a bunch of other people in an uncomfortable shared space.
I assume you know about the history of LA and public transportation a little bit, right?
A little bit.
If you go back to, I want to say it's the 50s, but it might be the 40s.
Yep.
LA had a public transit system that was pretty good. Streetcars, and I don't know if there was underground subways, but there was definitely streetcars and trains, and General Motors and Firestone tires got together and bought the Los Angeles public transit system and literally removed it in order to sell the city buses, GM buses on Firestone tires.
Yep.
And the tracks are still all over the fucking city as a grim reminder of what we had, not even could have had, what we had and was taken away.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. No.
So it was 1945.
45.
And in 1945, a company called National City Lines took over the Los Angeles Railway, and then over the next 20 years dismantled it. And the big investors of National City Lines were General Motors, Firestone, Rubber, Standard Oil, and Phillips Petroleum. Now that's a nutshell.
A bunch of really good
article,
companies who've never done anything to hurt anybody.
Yeah, no, and like, this history is why, I'm sure people, think I'm paid by big oil to bash Tesla. Like, there is history of these big companies doing bad things. Yeah. And plenty of companies do bad things today. And like, I certainly, even having written a book about them, I wouldn't say that Tesla is bad, period. It's much too complicated.
No, Tesla
to
as a
good
company isn't bad. I think Elon as a CEO is incredibly reckless. I would never invest in a company like that. The volatility would fucking make me blow my brains out.
Yep.
I think he's also, I read some of those transcripts with Vernon Unsworth, the Thailand cave diver guy, the rescue guy. Remember the guy Elon called a pedo on Twitter?
Oh, yeah, that was a big mistake.
Bro, that shit's going to court, and the transcripts are insane.
Yeah, there have been some interesting reading.
Insane, dude. He's like a 12-year-old in courtroom. Like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe that guy's running anything.
Yeah. I have some friends who are lawyers who are constantly just like Elon Musk is actually apparently in the legal profession is like kind of a punchline almost. Yeah. Just as like the worst possible client.
Him and Trump. Like what could, who could have a worse client than either of those two?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
It's crazy.
It is.
But wait, where did I want to go with this? Do you think Tesla's advantage in being the cool electric car company will be whittled down severely over the next 5 years as people may or may not buy mainstream built EVs?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the competition question is like, it's really interesting because they haven't had it, but that's kind of the main thing I think about is that like, they haven't had competition and they haven't, turned an annual profit. Like they haven't made money. And so like any competition, even if the other one, even if every new EV, every new premium EV, like flops relative to what they were hoping for, they will,
they'll still make a
whittle
dent
away. And Tesla just doesn't, they don't have margin to give. They don't.
Is Tesla getting repeat business? That's what's make or break them. If people are leasing or buying second or third ones, is what I'm interested in, really.
Some people definitely. I mean, look, there are some people who they love it. It's exactly what they want. Nothing even can compare. But
I think for a lot of people, it was the only option. Yeah. And now, the wealthy people adopted the Model S first, right? It was the electric Bentley. Yeah. Well, now you have an electric Porsche.
Right.
So, but that's one part of it. But as other EVs pop up, and you have people like myself, or just people like in my tax bracket that wanted an EV, but you can't afford a Model 3 or Model S. Yep. And as other things come online and become available besides just the e-Golf and stuff, now you suddenly have more competition, and it's just taking a percent.
Yep. Speaking of Taycan, have you tried Taycan?
I have not. No.
It's very exciting.
I've heard very good things.
Exciting. Yeah. For someone who wants a little less of a cell phone and a little more of a dynamic experience.
You want a car for your
you want
your car to be a car?
You want your car to be a car.
Yeah.
But it's got enough in terms of the interfaces and stuff. Apple CarPlay being a wireless thing goes a long way towards making the touchscreen very friendly.
Yep.
It was expensive. The one I drove was $187,000.
Yeah.
But it was, was it fast? I mean, it was the Porsche of EVs, every bit of that. And I did a full bore launch at full power with about 40 miles of range remaining, which is excellent. I mean, I want full power until the battery's fucking dead.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Don't take my power away.
Well, that's their ability above Tesla, right? Is they can do it over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
over
it's
again.
an EV built by a company that knows what endurance racing is. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I think that, clearly the car companies have noticed Tesla.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever felt like existentially threatened by them, but it's annoying. I think it's funny when you talk to car execs, the reason that they complain about Tesla or they worry about Tesla has nothing to do with the sales volume. Even now, it's about the mind share. It's like what they've been able to do.
The media exposure, right?
It's the free media.
Yeah.
And it's just they don't know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And I think all they can do is offer a competition that really does highlight, the things that the industry does well. So like making durable cars, and reliable cars, and not having to wait 3 months for parts, in service.
Parts supply chain is not exciting, but it's really like the Tesla authorized body shop in my area that I know, they keep their cars inside a wall, with a motorized gate because they don't want looky-loos coming in. But I drive by sometimes and the gate is open and the stack is deep per se.
Yep.
Lots of front end damage. People drive their Teslas into shit.
Yeah, well, it's a really powerful car. Most people aren't. I think a lot of people buy it that have no experience.
Well,
with
I had a Lexus ES, and then I think the Model S is really nice. It's whoosh.
It is a bit of an upgrade from my Prius.
It's a huge power upgrade. It's jumping from any other car into a Hellcat that's silent.
Yeah.
Do you remember Leno had that great Prius joke from 10, 12 years ago, which was like, the Prius is the perfect car to show everybody the good work you're doing anonymously. And it's like, you see this ugly egg I'm driving? I'm doing this for you.
Yeah.
And when the Model S came out, Leno, who did actually buy a Model S, pretty much was like, now I've got this thing.
Right.
He's like, this has all that smugness of the Prius,
yes,
but it looks like a Bentley or it looks like an Aston Martin, and it goes like a Ferrari, and he's like, and I don't have to make the sacrifices anymore.
Yep.
But do you think it's interesting that in your book you refer a couple times to the original Elon blog post mission statement, which basically lays out a rough financial plan and company plan,
strategy,
based on building cars for everybody, at a reasonable price, and having the expensive cars pay for the affordable cars later.
Yes.
What would have been a better move there?
Well, the funny thing is that it's actually been, I think it's really good. Like for them anyway, I think a lot of people, one of the things that allows them to give themselves, permission to buy this for themselves or whatever, even if they can afford it. People have hang-ups around this stuff sometimes. And it's the, oh man, completely lost my train of thought.
It's okay. High end first to low end.
They're paying for the poor people, so that they can someday have a Tesla. I'll have the best car in the world, and it's hoping the less fortunate someday be able to, take out a loan and get a Tesla.
Such horseshit.
But it works though.
Know,
it's extremely
so
effective. Yeah, and I think it's unnecessary. And I think the big thing is just like that tech market that why didn't car companies see it? In retrospect, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now, everyone's doing the same stuff. Like,
to me, why isn't every Rolls Royce electric?
Yeah.
That seems so obvious to me.
Yep.
Like giant heavy cars that just need to be smooth and like.
Yep.
How many Phantoms are going on road trips? Like none.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would it be a problem if a Phantom weighed 6,500 pounds because it had 1 million batteries? Nope.
Yep.
No one gives a shit. Like, why isn't Rolls Royce a fully electric brand? It feels like it should be.
Yeah. I mean, if it were, then like Lucid, for example, right? Like might not be I think. But it's the car companies are like letting in this opportunity for people to do these startups.
Do you think
do what
that's
they should be
because
doing.
they want to let them take on some of those fails and then acquire them at the right time once they have the tech and are cheap and fucking falling apart?
So like the car business is like trench warfare, and there's no first mover advantage in trench warfare.
Yeah.
First guy out of the trench gets shot, and probably the second and third, whatever. And it's the it's the ones that you know in the car business, it's a survival game. There's no car that comes out and just like takes up half the market. It's there are differences, there's competition, and the market moves, but it's actually quite stagnant because there's just a couple of really big players and they all benchmark each other.
Yeah.
And they're all putting out very similar products, and consumers don't know anything really about it. They're working with very low levels.
Maserati customers have never been in a Dodge Charger, sir.
Right. So, yeah, it's they've just they have gotten complacent. That's the thing. So like the thing that Tesla fans say, which is like, oh, the car company's gotten lazy. They have. That's the thing. Like Tesla has they went into an opportunity that was there. They have made quite a bit of it. Unfortunately, they just didn't do the things that I think are going to make them like really sustainable over the long run.
Yeah, do you have a prediction? Do you think they'll be acquired by a major OEM and become a sub brand or something?
So they had partnerships with Toyota and Daimler. And like that to me was sort of the moment that like everything could have been different. Mm-hmm. If they'd just been like, oh, wait, like we do some stuff really well and some stuff really badly. You do some stuff really well and some stuff really badly. And oh my God, they match up perfectly. If we just made this relationship work, we could fucking take over, right?
But I mean, that would be a very nice way for it to work. But if it's a giant company, and they're getting involved with another company, like Ford versus Ferrari, they might, bean counters get involved, they might start changing too many things, and then you have just too many cooks in the kitchen, and it could just grenade the whole thing.
That is always a risk. Yeah, no, absolutely. But even if you and like car companies are having to do that with autonomous, right? So like GM bought Cruise, but like they're keeping it as a separate thing. And I think that there are political battles about how much control GMOs have, but like
I want to talk about Autonocast and autonomy for a minute, but before we ditch off of Tesla, the last question and thought on Tesla is, and I wanted to think about how to phrase it, like, do you think it's odd? My takeaway on Tesla after reading your book and a bunch of other stuff about it is that the things that Tesla has contributed to the industry in the last 10 years are very real and very significant.
Yes.
But they would have done all of them anyway if Elon didn't act like such a piece of shit all the time.
Yeah.
His actions exclusively undermine the good that the company does.
Yep.
Like, he almost never does anything that is like, wow, you really moved the ball forward for the company there, Elon. But he constantly makes them look terrible.
But yeah, I mean, but would the company even exist without him?
Right. No, they wouldn't. Yeah. They wouldn't. But let's say they built and sold the cars, and he just like fucking chilled out and didn't like rage at people and like try and sue journalists and fucking get all vindictive about shit. Like, they'd still be making those strides. Like,
well, I think it's the personality that gave him the confidence and cockiness and drive to make the thing. But now we see it on the outside. We don't see inside the factory like what decisions are made that move the ball forward. We just see the public things. Like, remember Bobby Knight, the basketball coach that like got in trouble for like choking someone?
Yeah.
But his teams were winning for like 8 years in a row. They had some crazy record. And you're like, oh, well, he drove them really hard to do really well, and then they won a lot. But he was a piece of shit, and that's how he got it done. Oh,
I hate the fucking end justifies the mean shit.
I'm not saying the end justifies it, but I'm saying
I hate it in billionaire worship and governments and cars.
I'm saying when we see his head pop up on Twitter about an issue, the same fuel that makes him respond in that way may be the same fuel that made him make this company make a million decisions and move it forward.
I think he just hired the right smart people, or hired some people that hired the right smart people.
Yeah.
I think he gets too much credit.
No, and I think it's easy also to be like, oh, there's no personalities in the auto industry anymore, like, whatever, it's the soy, or whatever, right?
That doesn't bother me. I don't.
But what I'm saying is, I think what we may be
race
learning.
drivers with personalities, but I don't need car CEOs to be interesting.
Right, and if you think about it, managing a company of 30,000 people or more, like you can't be a maniac.
No,
you
it's
have to be
tedious
everything
work.
that he isn't. Yeah, it's tedious.
Yeah,
exactly.
my dad. That's what my
Cost
father's done for 40
engineering,
years.
like
It's reading
management.
spreadsheets and sleeping. That's all. And going a lot of meetings. It's not fucking Twitter, I assure you.
Right, and like the car business is kind of boring for good reasons.
Yeah,
and like people forget that 100 years of evolution with like thousands of companies going bankrupt along the way has given us the boring industry that we love to. It's so easy to take shots at, but like. And it's funny because I started, at The Truth About Cars, like going after Detroit. That's what we sort of did there.
Yeah.
And really focused on them. And so I certainly, have no illusions about these companies. The traditional auto industry companies.
Yeah.
Like they're no angels.
No.
Right? And they make lots of mistakes. And actually, I'm kind of interested. Like it's gonna be fun to cover things other than Tesla because there's a lot going on.
But there's a lot of whataboutism. If you criticize Tesla,
yes,
the whataboutism comes out, and okay, none of these other companies are perfect, but you also don't have people going to bat for their CEOs on Twitter either.
Right.
You don't have like fanatics for the CEO of Audi. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen.
True.
Right.
Whereas these people will fucking go to the mattresses for this billionaire that would hang them out to dry in 2 seconds if he thought they were that they were going to say something negative about him.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm really glad I sort of got out of starting off at The Truth About Cars was the guy who ran it, Robert Farrago. His main project was predicting and documenting the fall of the Detroit automakers, and he was certainly right about that.
He got pretty close, actually. Yeah.
Well, and they did. They went bankrupt.
Yeah.
He just didn't figure there would be a bailout.
Yeah.
And which is like how I got my job. Like that's how I got started. Is I had a political science background and was like, oh, I'll write about cars because there was this opportunity and I got sucked in. Yeah. God damn it.
Stupid weed.
Yeah.
No. It's. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Building cars is boring, and building cars really well is fucking boring. It's not a glamorous soap opera.
Right. No, it's not.
It's like not a cult of personality.
No, and Tesla's become entertainment too.
Yeah.
Like that's and again, like car companies, I think used to be like that. They used to play that kind of role in people's lives.
Yeah.
And so he's really just filling something. Like I said, it's something that we didn't realize was missing. We know the car industry has gotten less interesting, but like that role specifically of the future. And I think there's an interesting...
Well, the phone has kind of... The cars got less interesting.
Yep.
The phones got more interesting.
Computers.
And now we are merging the phone and the car.
The era of the car is over. The era of the computer has come.
Yeah.
And again, it is amazing that, for all the market research and stuff that car companies do, that they didn't realize, like, wow, like the tech sector just does have more cultural sway than us by a long shot. Like, why? Let's find out why. Let's find out what we can do about that, which they're doing now with all these autonomous vehicle investments. And
I mean, despite the fact that car companies drive each other's product and benchmark each other, I think that what you see over and over with people who work at car companies is they're all in their bubbles.
Yeah.
They're all in their bubbles.
It's true.
And they don't to a Toyota, the idea of building that a Model S would make no fucking sense at all.
Right.
And in the same way that to a Ford, if Ford was going to do a partnership with an ultra luxury brand and try and build an ultra luxury car, Ford doesn't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
Ford wouldn't be able to build an ultra luxury car no matter what resources they put in it.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't because they just don't. They just couldn't do it.
It's like a tribal knowledge thing,
Yeah.
right? Like it builds up over time, and I think that's the other thing people don't realize. Like with Tesla, they're working people too hard, so they have this crazy turnover, and I think it's because people really avoid that in the auto industry because they know like accumulating knowledge is really important because again, when you have 30,000 employees. You can't manage all of that.
Yeah.
You can't. And so you have to have a culture that allows people to understand like what it is that we're trying to do, what is sort of generally the right way to approach stuff.
Yeah.
So that everyone's kind of on the same page. And when you have sort of turnover and just constant chaos, that just never really happens. And so that's just something that Tesla just doesn't have.
And then it manifests itself in the cars.
Yeah,
ultimately.
everybody leaves, and then just their stories are just crazy. Like some of the things that like.
The shit that they say that goes on behind the scenes, some of which is in your book.
Some of which,
the book is called Ludicrous, the unvarnished story of Tesla Motors. And it's good. I fucking blasted through this in about 5.5 hours. It was great.
So I wanted it to be like easy to read.
Yeah,
so
I
kind of like tend to be long-winded. I kind of tend to write more. I consider it like more for an expert audience or like people, but I really tried to make a little bit more of an effort with this one to be something like anybody could just pick up.
You can. And my wife read it too, and she liked it.
Yeah. And I think that, the other thing is it's not just about Tesla. Like it is absolutely about Tesla, but I do think it's about the reason Tesla is what they are is because they really reflect certain things about the times that we're living in.
Yeah.
And I tried to make some of those connections in the book because there are sort of bigger issues just around the role of technology in our lives, the tech industry specifically.
Yeah.
And what is their culture really, and how do we as a broader society feel about their role in it? Because
it really worries me that their culture seems to be that we can fix anything. Any problem technology can solve. It is an unlimited resource that will fix anything, but it doesn't fix like people really. It doesn't fix like it like you can have a Facebook page with like 10,000 friends and be like super lonely.
Yep.
It doesn't actually fix the way that people really interact with each other, and in fact can be like really isolating, I think.
Yeah. So I recently got to do. I was the first media person to ride on a fully driverless Waymo.
Okay.
In Chandler in
Was
traffic.
this for the Autonocast, which you are a co-host of?
No, actually, I wrote this for TechCrunch.
Oh, okay.
With my co-host Kirsten Korsak. Worked with her on it. But Waymo asked me to like be the first journalist to ride fully driverless, no one behind the wheel, which is weirder than you might expect. But I also got to talk to a bunch of their UX people, like user experience. And what's amazing is their technology is clearly the best, right? Like their
Waymos,
yeah. I mean, whatever. It's impossible to really, really judge it like properly. Alex Roy and I probably have a long conversation about that. But like, but when it comes to the product itself, like I'm not sure they really know what they're doing. In fact, they're doing a lot of research into people because they're finding out that drivers don't just drive. Drivers do more than drive. When you have an Uber or a Lyft, there's a person there.
Yeah.
You don't like to think about it because we do live in a time where people don't want to have interactions with people.
Yeah.
A lot of times. And but when the human is suddenly not there, all of a sudden you really appreciate what they're able to do, because computers are really good at some things, but they're not adaptable.
Yeah.
They're not flexible.
Yeah. I to me, the idea that the idea of just autonomous driving, just the words, is like, dude, driving is so much more than pressing pedals and turning a wheel. Like, it's so much more. Like, my eyes are doing so much scanning all the time, and I'm constantly going, if that guy steps out of that crosswalk, what am I going to do? If that car comes here, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? And I'm like just flexible about those things, like always, real time.
Yep. It's super social.
Yeah.
Driving, people don't think of driving as a
looking
social
at other people's
thing.
eyes and how their heads are moving.
You are constantly communicating in ways like on subconscious levels.
Yeah.
And they say that like, I don't know, some huge amount of communication happens non-verbally a lot of times. And I think that happens in cars. I think cars are a really interesting way to do that. And so like, for me, like one of the things that makes autonomous drive technology interesting is that you have to start to understand. You have to kind of decode the subconscious conversation of traffic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can be driving past a gas station. You're approaching, it's 500 feet away, and you see someone coming out of the gas station, and you just see them press the gas a little more, leaving their spot than a normal person. You're like, that person is eager to go. They're probably going to crunch their bumper, leaving, like going down this ramp, but they're getting in front of me. And you have to see that stuff like in the parking lot before it even happens, and you pick it up.
You practically make a psychological profile of someone subconsciously before you even fully register who consciously like what is that? What who is actually in there?
Right. But like aside from the very obvious cases of disabled people who can't drive, the blind, whatever, the elderly, the very sick, and on. I have a really hard time believing that the resources that are being used to develop autonomous cars are actually being used wisely and aren't just being funneled into a way to sell us a new shiny thing that doesn't really solve the fucking problem they say they're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's a very understandable perspective for sure.
Yeah.
So with self-driving cars, it was approached purely as a technology problem. And again, like Waymo is, solving it. In certain areas, it's like the easiest place in the world to drive.
Chandler, Arizona is the grittiest, sunniest, most well-marked place ever.
Definitely level 1.
Yeah.
And like in the video game sense, not the SAE level. Yeah.
New York is boss level.
Or it's like Boston. Boston's
India.
the double black diamond.
Mumbai.
Yeah, I was gonna say India is boss level.
Yeah. Rural India. Yeah. Anyway. But so they thought it was just a technology problem. It's like, if we can teach this car to drive, it will change the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was what the thing was. Okay, so we're getting close. Now it turns out there are other problems that are human problems that we have to fix to make this into a real product, right? And that's on the UX side. But in general, like humans, the business part of it, what is really the place where this is actually going to make sense as a business?
Yeah,
and it's super not clear. And even Waymo, right? Like they can't do one of the most important ride-hailing runs, which is to the airport. They can't do the airport because I guess the drop-off zone is just too dynamic,
it's unpredictable,
and too crazy.
Yeah.
So and also people, like it's hard to train a computer to be flexible and adaptable enough to respond to the random stuff that happens and that any human driver would be able to do without any real education.
See, they always use this metric, right, of the computer's driven 300,000 miles, right? But like, how much learning can a computer do in 1 mile of driving versus how much learning can a human do in 1 mile of driving?
Yeah,
and what's the mile like, or what are 300,000 miles like?
Yeah.
Our problem is not that computers are better drivers than us. Our problem is that we're much better. We have the capability of being, much better than I think the current state of, but we don't use it.
Yeah.
And that's really the crisis, I think, is that like it's untapped human potential.
Right, like people who'd want to develop defendants of autonomous technology, and many of these people are Tesla freaks. The argument is that a fully self-driving Tesla, which doesn't exist right now, but is better than the average human driver.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, what about better than the best human driver?
Right.
What about better than average drivers given training that is commensurate with other countries' training?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what? Like the standard they're using to say this system is better than, it's better than fucking terrible.
Yeah,
and
but
it's not. Like,
the problem though is just like would you bet on people using more of their potential?
No, but
are we trending in the right direction?
No, but
if
we
we're giving-
love convenience.
But if these guys are getting crazy tax breaks and getting government funding for doing it, how about we revamp the driver training standards?
Yeah,
the licensing standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and the argument, like, say all of a sudden auto safety got super popular when AV started being everywhere. Like all of a sudden everyone's like this auto safety advocate, and it's like, well, what is your suggestion besides we'll just replace it all with this thing that we don't even freaking have yet? And
did you post that study about the people who were given chauffeurs for a week?
No,
someone posted it. They were like, someone did a study, and it was like we had trouble figuring out like how people's habits would change if they had an autonomous vehicle.
Right.
And so we gave them. They had a car that they drove for a week, whatever they wanted to drive.
Right.
Then they had for a week, or maybe it was 2 weeks and 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, they had a chauffeur. and the chauffeur would go wherever you want, do anything you want, and the chauffeur could do basic pickups, like it could go get a pizza without you. It could go pick up the kids without you.
Okay.
So like basic things that like where you know in theory. And the what's the metric? Is it road miles driven, total road miles driven? What's that
vehicle
metric?
miles traveled.
Vehicle miles traveled,
Yeah.
right. So that's sort of the metric of how much more or less the car is used, right?
Right.
83% more vehicle miles traveled with the fucking AVs.
Oh, of course.
That's not going to solve traffic at all.
Yeah.
That's going to be fucked.
It's and I think really one of the things that actually even like the self-driving car companies are sort of just coming to grips with is that like the idea of what a car is, like just on a really broad popular level, is something that's been developed for a century with like billions of dollars a year spent shaping it, right? And so it's become this very specific thing. And so when we think about autonomous vehicles, we can't help but base our imagination of that on this very well-developed idea. And maybe even to some extent, you know, like, I mean, like, the funny thing is Tesla's successful, I think, in part because, again, they're bringing aspects of the future, but in a way that's totally unchallenging and doesn't require any actual change from people, which is going out and buying a car and owning it. Yeah. Right? Like, and
the shared pods thing is where it gets real hazy.
Well, so the idea that it makes sense for the business that they've outlined, which is people letting their private cars just go work for them. Right. Even if you assume the autonomy thing just works, which is like a gigantic stretch.
A huge leap.
I don't even. It's but even with that, those cars are not built to be taxis, right? In any sense, and like
in terms of durability, in terms of like who's cleaning this thing, in terms of like all of this kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, interior.
In fact, I would argue that a Tesla. In fact, I did argue in my review that's coming out soon that a Tesla Model 3 is possibly the first car designed from new to be disposable. It's nice. Yeah, it feels nice, but it's also simultaneously feels utterly recyclable and disposable.
Is that because of the tablet in it, or
it's because of a lot of things? It's because of the materials, the plastics, the tablet. None of it feels like anything worth saving for 1 second beyond its immediate usefulness.
Yeah, I mean, cars have kind of been trending a little bit in that direction anyway. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's the great thing about old cars is you sitting in, it's just like metal.
I suppose, wood. But it's real. But the digitalness of it really removes any sense of permanence.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like the smartphone. We live in a time where for a lot of people, their most important possession is their smartphone. Yeah. And it is, a cutting edge thing that you just replace. Yeah. And every
year there's a new version.
There are plans.
Every 3 years there's like a brand new version.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, like that's, and I think with Tesla, you keep just connecting the way it does things with the way the world is sort of becoming. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think the story is important. Like that's why I think people who are not interested in cars or whatever should read the book, buy the book.
I think it's an interesting Silicon Valley story.
It tells you something about the world we're living in. Yeah. And like even, if we lived in a world where, a significant percentage of Americans who read newspapers first of all, a lot of Americans read newspapers and a certain percentage of them worked in factories. Mm-hmm. I don't think Tesla would, I don't think the myth would take off because people who are familiar with manufacturing, it's funny, people like the Tesla shorts talk about people's awakening, like when they wake up and like it's different things for different people. And a lot of times it'll be when Elon, it's actually more about Elon than Tesla. It's like when he gets into your subject area, then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like this guy
doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
So
I listened to Elon on Joe Rogan, and I'm going on Joe Rogan on December 3rd.
Awesome.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this because Joe went out and bought a Tesla after 100D, and by all accounts he really likes it. Sure. But he said some shit about it on a show recently that was fucking wrong, and I feel like he. I think Elon is probably very charismatic if you've got him one-on-one, but I listened to him talk about his tunnel and shit. He doesn't sound like he fucking knows what he's doing. He sounds like he's throwing shit at the wall and sees what sticks.
Yeah, and I think just realistically, like how much can one person do well?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you can do all kinds of people can do all kinds of things, but how many things can someone really do well?
I think one of the reasons SpaceX works well is because he kind of leaves them alone to just do their shit.
Yeah, that and the fact that they have a COO in Gwynne Shotwell, who's really widely respected, and that he hasn't done that in the car business, it tells me that something else, a thread that goes, I think, through the book and how I see the company is that Tesla is about him, and it's about creating an image for him. I think that people say, oh, it's not about the money for him, like clearly he cares about the stock price and stuff, but like really I think if you look at the history, the very first fight he had with Martin Eberhart was about New York Times coverage.
Oh, calling him a founder, right?
Yeah, he wasn't. Well, that was what their eventual lawsuit was about. But it was the first time they really fought was about New York Times stories that like either didn't mention him or said he was just the money guy.
Yeah.
And so it's always been like about creating this myth for him. And that's why
it lets him bang supermodels and it lets him hang out with celebrities, and it's that shit is mad addictive.
No, but it's
mad addictive.
It's more than any of that too. He's a hero, and in a time when there aren't a lot of heroes.
Yeah,
like
it's the folk hero thing, right?
It is,
which is silly when a diamond magnate's son. I mean, Jesus Christ, the guy had his father owned a diamond mine, for fuck's sake, in apartheid South Africa.
I think it was an emerald mine.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Fact check. Emeralds.
Middle class emerald mine.
By the way, are rarer and more expensive. In apartheid South Africa, and this is your underdog?
Yeah.
Fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, and just like if you're gonna have a hero, why does that hero have to like attack anybody who's even a little bit critical, right? Like where the insecurity and like unfortunately this culture has taken on a life of its own. Like that's the scary thing about Tesla is that just people just get radicalized.
Yeah,
and then next thing you know they're threatening journalists or whatever.
It gets real crazy.
Yeah, it gets really crazy, and like.
Because when they buy into the myth, they absorb that responsibility and those threats personally.
Yep.
It's fucking crazy.
Yep, and it's like, and again, it reflects the times because, like, look at the pop fans and like the fandom has become much more of a thing from the internet, and it's funny because I think about when I was a kid when I first heard about the internet, I was like, oh man, everyone's gonna be connected to each other. And everyone's been connected to all the world's information. This is going to make us so much smarter.
And
boy, was I wrong. Yeah.
No, well, you also, and with Tesla, you've got the referral codes.
Yeah.
So everybody's a salesman.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you do have a financial incentive to promote the company.
100%.
And you have
the stock.
You have the stock. So you have a financial incentive to pump it if you want to invest. And also you've got in Elon's Twitter habits,
yes.
If you suck up to Elon hard enough, he might retweet you,
yes.
and now you're the fucking celeb for a day in the Tesla forums.
This is something that people outside of online media don't understand.
Yeah.
They're like, how does it all work? And it's like, one click from Elon.
Yeah.
And you've got 25 million people, and I'm sure the click rate is huge because it's not just the size of his audience, it's how passionate they are.
Yeah.
And even the littlest hint of an endorsement literally has made people's social media careers, websites, all kinds of things. And he's brilliant because he has recently sort of started playing them off each other, right? Like these literally websites have sprouted up just to cover Tesla.
Electric.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, right? And some were, EV websites and have just kind of become Tesla sites. He plays them off each other. And I think, he spreads those clicks around and he realized it's now a competition.
Yeah.
People compete for the best Tesla propaganda.
This is so Trumpy. It is so Trumpy.
Well, I would say
seriously, it's exactly the same strategies. It's fucking crazy how close the
I would say it's
are.
actually just political discourse in general, like even before Trump came about, but the news was drifting towards what gets the most clicks. That's why so much of the news was destroyed. And to go back, the psychology...
It might have started with Obama, to be fair, but
it's been...
The follow for follow... You guys remember that? Follow for follow? That dumb shit on Twitter when it was like, if you follow me, I'll follow you. And you'd see people with an account that has 5 million followers, and they're promising fans. Paris Hilton, oh, if you follow me, I'll follow you. And everyone goes, oh my God.
Yeah.
And click, and then she's back off, or whoever it is, or like for like. And it's a little bit of dopamine that keeps the fans hungry for that attention, but then it makes them more and more rabid, and they defend that person more and more and more.
I mean, nobody's immune to that.
No,
if I get some fucking social media love from someone that I consider to be a big celebrity, I get super, super excited. Well, bro, I got a fucking huge adrenaline hit the other day because I just got a little ding. Ice-T followed you.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Final level.
I am here.
Yeah.
You know, you get it, but when you buy into it fully and then you get it even more, it's like, woo.
Yeah.
Hard to avoid that.
And right, and you have these financial interests, and you're convinced that you're saving the planet.
Yeah.
And it justifies anything. You can do anything, and you're the good guy.
It's like toxic fandom. They're the good guys. Fast and Furious, dude, you got to come and see this.
Okay.
Fast and Furious musical parody, December 13th. They're out of their 5th show. Zach and I went to the last show. I'm telling you, this is so much funnier than you think it's going to be.
No, it sounds great. It sounds amazing.
The people, Joey and Brad, who wrote this, and the people who perform it, these guys are really smart, and this is it's like the Team America of Fast and Furious.
Oh my God.
Is seriously socially conscious in a very fucking funny way, and I have been singing the songs to myself repeatedly. Can you find it? Zach's looking for it. It's at the Dynasty Typewriter Theater in Hollywood. I'll keep plugging the fuck out of these people because they are so funny, and someone needs to give them $1 million or a Tony or both. If you can come back to town on December 13th, I'm going to go again.
Yeah.
Go buy a ticket. Where are the tickets? DynastyTypewriter.com. But yeah, you should see that. But you literally just said what you just said about anything's justifiable when you're the good guys.
Yep.
They have a song about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so much smarter than I expected.
We're
It's very
doing
good.
crimes and solving crimes and doing crimes and solving crimes, and we do it all in cars.
Okay.
good.
December 13th, huh? All right. I think,
Do we have anything from the people before we wrap this up? A couple in the super chat.
Do you want to talk about Autonocast? Is that what you said before?
Well, I wanted to plug it,
Okay.
and I wanted to get your thoughts on the AV space.
Cool.
I think we've done that.
We did that.
Yeah,
Okay, just checking.
On the Autonocast, is it you and always Alex, or is you and a variety of guests?
Yeah, no, so it's me and Alex and Kirsten Korosek from TechCrunch. Sometimes when we have, Alex is a tough man to schedule sometimes. He's got special operations all the time. Sometimes he won't be able to make it. And actually, too, because he works for an autonomous vehicle company.
Oh, yeah, so does he have to abstain?
So with certain guests, we give them the option. And actually, most of the time, they're totally cool with it. And he actually just sort of holds back with questions. So we're making it work.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a really, really interesting industry, but it's also just like the disconnect between people who know how it works and the general public is so fucking huge.
Yeah. No, it really is.
People straight up think they're the Teslas are self-driving cars. I mean, that horseshit marketing works.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
no, absolutely.
The fact that they're selling a fucking $7,000 full self-driving option right now that does absolutely nothing is crazy.
Yeah. If you got a 3-year lease on a, say, Model S right when that announcement was made, it came and went. And you paid full.
You literally paid.
Your car is gone.
You paid for nothing.
And you paid for nothing.
You gave him $7,000 for nothing.
Wait, what?
Explain how this works.
If you had a 3-year lease in October of 2016, when Elon Musk said all cars being made today have the capability or like the hardware for full self-driving, we just need
you have to check a box
software
for full self-driving.
Oh yeah,
and that's like 7,000. So I can't remember. The prices varied. Yeah,
it might have started a little lower, but the Model 3 I just drove, it's 7.
Yeah, and I think they say because it's so valuable, they're gonna keep raising the price, which is some of this stuff is almost a little laughable.
Yeah.
It's, every 6 months we're going to make it more expensive.
It doesn't do anything.
But it's a promise of one day it will.
$7,000.
Well, yeah, so the promise, but the promise is not even just that your car is going to drive yourself. It's that it will go out and earn money for you.
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter and I laughed really hard.
Yeah.
And there was a financial advisor that jumped in the Twitter scape with me and some journalists, and he was defending this idea, and I went, this guy tells people
Don't
to buy
give him
stock.
your money.
You think this is ridiculous?
Short everything that guy owns.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, what? It's not gonna. And there were stories of people like writing to Tesla and saying, "Hey, I took my car in to trade it, and they're only going to give me $45,000. Like, I don't understand."
Yeah.
Like, oh, you fucked up.
Yeah,
in
you're
a lot of ways. You have too much money and not any sense.
A moron. Let's see. A couple questions from the one. Epstein didn't kill himself. I like it.
Nice.
I like it. I believe it. Wait, is that the top one? Vlad says, "What do you think?" Well, boy, he's paying in Swiss francs. His donation is. What do you think of a Bentley Continental GT for $21,000? If he means dollars, you're buying a real steaming pile of shit Bentley GT.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe he means Lincoln.
it's gonna.
No, they
he
didn't
means
make a
Bentley.
GT, I know.
No, I mean you're buying a really bad car. I mean, like there's something very expensive is broken with that car.
Yeah, I think the Tesla drivetrain swap would not just be an eventually thing. I think
Correct.
you would pretty much do
It'd be
that right
immediate.
out the gate. Yeah.
But a Bentley's a very complex car. Like, who knows what you got to take out to make a Tesla drivetrain work?
gotta
But
take
good
out
luck.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if
If you're an electrical engineer, you'll probably be able to do it.
if you have to ask this as a financial question, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
You need deep ass pockets to turn a $21,000 Bentley into something worthwhile.
Yeah, especially a Tesla powered. Yeah.
And if you're gonna do $20K, like I would go for like a 90s Bentley and do a Tesla swap, like one of those squared off turbo R's or
R&Rs.
something like that. That
Yeah.
could be very cool.
Yeah.
Keep it classy. And look up John Ward's conversions, because he's got some crazy shit that might work with that. No, he did the Rolls Royce Derelict
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the LS7.
Yeah, I don't think he does any electric. I think he did like one electric.
He did
yeah.
one, and it was apparently, it's apparently a massive pain in the ass to deal with. Yeah. Rayleigh says it was nice meeting Alex at NoHo Sound. Nice meeting Ed and Alex, excuse me, at NoHo Sound. Are there any regulators, FTC, DOE, NTSC, that have read your book and given you feedback?
No, not that have given me feedback. I don't know if any have read. I do know, some at least one former NHTSA administrator has a copy. I think the regulators are mostly aware of Tesla, of the situation. I just there's a lot of things they just can't do.
Yeah.
And the way NHTSA is set up, they detect defects in mechanical parts mostly. I mean, they've expanded their remit a little bit, but they need model years, right? Like if a Tesla is constantly changing its parts all the time, they can't do the analysis to really know what these rates are.
Yeah, that's
are
a weird
happening
thing. This thing Tesla does, allegedly, I don't know how the system works exactly, but they're just like, no, we're just constantly upgrading our cars.
Yeah.
So you roughly no idea what you've got.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the regulators don't know, right? They can't say okay, we think there's a problem with this part. How many vehicles is it in? Because it's not it's in these 4 model years.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's just this thing, and they would have to contact Tesla, and the Tesla would have to find that data.
It's also a real problem if you buy a used one, right? Because you don't really know, right? If what's been what it came with, and then what's been upgraded, right?
Yeah. No. Any used car obviously is
right, but at least you know that all 2014 Hyundai Sonatas are the same.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty much,
absolutely.
right?
But yeah, and then also just on the full self-driving thing, there is no obvious regulator for that. For who selling an autonomous vehicle capability that you're not going to be able to deliver on, there's no one in government who could make that assessment.
Right. I think we're going to run into a very similar problem with EVs. The kind of EV adoption rate that some of these people are projecting in major cities is so fucking out of whack and crazy. In LA, they're talking about, we want 90% EV adoption in 20 years. Bro, get a fucking grip. I've been trying to build a building across the street for 4 years for one building. You think we're gonna charge this city in 20 years? Hell to the no.
Yeah.
Not a chance. There's not enough. The power grid couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not enough, capacity in cobalt and different kinds of mineral. I mean, the supply chain isn't there.
The supply for batteries for cars and the supply of energy to charge all these cars isn't there.
Yep. But like, and again, I think there's a lot of people, because high-tech sector, information and computer technology, smartphones, computers, cameras have just been on this crazy tear. People think that that's not because of the specific things about those products. It's that the tech sector is like magical and they can just make these transformations with anything.
Yeah.
And cars are a very distinct class of products.
Yeah.
And like what works in, smartphones is not necessarily like they're just different. Look at them, right?
Yeah.
Like
these are
think
not
about
the same thing.
Think about how you use these things. Think about what you expect from these things.
Like the fucking Tesla business model and the Amazon business model are not the same. And I hear the comparison between those two all the time. Amazon didn't make money for 10 years. Amazon has a fucking monopoly on online commerce right now.
Right. And
they don't make anything.
Well, they also make tons of money off of Amazon Web Service. That's their big thing.
That too, but they're certainly not making, selling, warrantying, and servicing and repairing vehicles.
No, yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, no, they really.
Although they probably will soon.
Yeah, no, and like that's
robots.
why what the venture capital model works for software, because like and certain other things, because when you develop software, once you paid off the cost of developing that software,
it's free.
It's 100% profit.
Yeah.
And so you get these crazy margins.
You know who
that
else was
doesn't
telling me
happen
about
in
that?
the car business.
My wife loves puzzles, and I was like, "Why don't you start a puzzle company?" And she's like, "Actually, I looked into it. The margins are crazy on puzzles because it's all about licensing the images. The rest of it's just fucking selling cardboard inside of cardboard.
Laser press cardboard or laser cut cardboard.
Yeah. But that's a physical good with the same kind of margins as like software.
Right, and so there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for a car company. And if they do become profitable, it's because they just develop this like operational focus of just grinding it out little by little sale by
pennies
sale
on each bullshit,
and it's just so different than either the tech sector is or how this like idea that people have created in their heads about how Tesla is.
Yeah, MB67. I appreciate your sentiment, but give me a fucking break, buddy. We love you anyway. There's something behind that, dude. It says insert generic. I have 15K. What car? So every week someone wants to know what car they should buy for 15K. Tired of it. We have special guests this week.
Do people ever take car buying advice?
Nope. They just want us to validate what they already think. Rivian, Ryukachu says, is Rivian shaping up to be the positive disruptor that Tesla was going to be, minus the awful stuff?
Yeah, so I wouldn't use the word disruptor. Like, they're making cars, they're car companies. They haven't, disruption is something like, people stop buying cars and start using scooters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. To oversimplify it. But yeah, no, look, I think Rivian is it's Tesla without the sort of like tragic streak, and like I've thought about, and I kind of wanted it to be the headline. My publisher didn't want the word tragedy in the headline. I understand why.
Yeah.
Like I definitely didn't want to come across as too much of a hater, but in like classical mythology, a tragic hero, has this quality that makes them go do the impossible, and then the same thing destroys them. And that's kind of what Tesla, what's happening with Elon Musk specifically. The company reflects him.
Right.
He's on this very...
I couldn't tell you a single name of a single Rivian employee.
Tragic.
I saw the truck and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's partly that. It's partly the fact that they're locating in auto country. They are really...
Are they
vocal.
in Detroit?
No, they're in Normal, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
But it was a Chrysler or Mitsubishi joint venture, whatever. Some
Diamond Star Motors plant.
It was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Promising.
Well, and so
a lot of love came out of this DSM factory.
Oh, damn, that's a DSM.
But there is talent there. There are people who know how to build cars there. There are suppliers there. In California, one of Tesla's big problems is like finding people who will do auto work. In California and who have experience. It's also harder than people realize. People think it's like the old days of like, turn one screw once like every minute.
Oh yeah, no.
It's
I went to a Porsche factory. Everyone is a technician. You're not just a factory worker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so anyway, so they respect, sort of the industry and what it's able to do. They don't have the arrogance that Tesla had. And I think Tesla needed that to be the first one,
Yeah.
over the trench. But like now that they blaze that trail, people like Rivian and a bunch of other companies. Actually, I was just at a company called Canoo here in LA.
CANOO, right?
I think they're really cool.
Aren't they selling like a pod-like bus or
It's like a
something?
little van,
It's like a van. Have you
my
seen
gosh.
the car?
I was just down there, yeah.
Do they have a working vehicle?
They had a stationary one.
Okay.
I mean, they do, but they didn't show it to me.
Okay. So as far as the EV startups, you've got Rivian, you've got Canoo, you had Faraday, which is done, right?
No, they're still
still
they were at
around?
the show, yeah. But
And then you have Lucid.
Lucid, yeah.
Faraday and Lucid I conflate because their vehicles look pretty similar to each other, I think.
A little bit, and they were owned by the same guy.
No, that's probably why. Yeah, here's the Canoo, which is just like, it actually reminds me of my Delica.
It is. It's like a little funky Japanese.
This is very Fifth Element looking, like now or in the future.
Yeah,
Now or really.
No, it's steer by wire. Oh god, actually, it's funny. I can show you this video. I meant to tweet it earlier, but
It's kind of Art Deco in a certain way.
I think it's super cool, and it's subscription only. You will not be able
So you
to
just rent it.
You will not be able to own it. Yeah, it will be. Yes,
But like that is the vehicle you're going to be able to take home. It's it.
Yes. Oh
Fucking
yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad the
assuming
future's
they-
here.
Yeah.
If they can get that crash tested and ready to get, is that gonna? Are they doing ultra low
about to do it.
medium?
No. Yeah, it's gonna crash. It's a real car.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hate the name so much.
I know.
Canoe.
I know. The name is not ideal, but
Yeah.
it's
But it's pretty cool
So it's one of
looking.
the guys who did worked on the BMW i3.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And which I frankly love. I know it's not
I like the
a
i3.
very popular opinion.
No, I think
but
the i3 is cool.
I think
like
it's
it.
really cool.
I like it a lot better than the i8.
Yeah, and it's definitely like it's a slice of history in that like BMW is not going to keep making those carbon fiber reinforced polymer cars anymore.
Redacted says, would you rather talk to a guy in a 308 wearing Ferrari Pumas or a guy in an Enzo wearing toe shoes?
The 308 I drove, the guy had original Ferrari glasses that were wrapped
Really?
in leather. They were, he goes, yeah, be careful. They're uncomfortable, they sit crooked, and they fall off your face. Like, these do nothing, they do none of the things glasses do. But he had some OG. I would rather talk, if it's that guy, talk to that guy.
I think I'd rather talk to the guy in the 308.
I mean, it's
It's a 308.
safer.
How do you not?
It's not also not an Enzo.
Oh, Ryukachu works in Autonomy. I did not know that, an anonymous commenter. And he says, the tech only gets cheaper and the cars only get better at driving over time. But yes, there's a huge danger of more congestion, hoping for autonomous buses. The thing about autonomous buses are, to me, all you're doing is eliminating someone's job. Do buses really need autonomy?
We just need more people to take buses. But
Yeah, I mean-
that's like a cultural shift.
We kind of turned a path at one point where, as a species, where if we could automate something, we would.
Yeah.
A while ago. The question is really just, can you automate it, right? Can you have a bus? Again, bus driver is a great example of like a driver doesn't just drive.
Yeah.
They keep the peace on some of those buses.
Yeah.
Like
Great point.
they're basically
Yeah.
cops.
Stop fighting.
Right. Seriously.
No shitting on the bus.
Don't make me pull this bus over. Yeah, no, and like can a robot deal with humans?
And for stuff where they don't have to, I feel like we've sorted it, like those airport trams and like the monorail at Disney World.
Yep.
Like that level of automation is like fine, but like I don't need autonomous city buses. That's just eliminating someone's job.
Yeah. I mean, if the cost can come down enough, I mean, it could, different things are possible, but the problem is that's still an investment in public transportation.
But I think that requires a social
Don't know how
change.
they-
Like
yeah,
everyone,
exactly.
we're getting more and more isolated in our world with, like you were saying, the internet, and we just want to sit in the Uber and not talk to the person.
Mm-hmm.
That is not heading in the direction of, hey, it'd be really good for the environment if we all rode
Shared
electric
pods.
bus would
Yeah.
help. But yeah, we're all going to start sharing pods more and basically build individual cars of subways. Like that's a big cultural shift.
I just like for public transportation, I need it to be like something that moves faster than traffic. Like for me, the problem with buses in Los Angeles is they're stuck in the same fucking traffic everybody else is.
Yep.
I'm just less comfortable. So
Right.
I to me, that's not an advantage. But in New York City, fuck yeah, I'm on the subway.
Yeah.
That's how you do it in New York City.
Yeah.
And so they,
because the subway goes where cars can't go. Like I know there are places with bus only lanes, but they get blocked all the time. But maybe if they switch to streets that were only for buses, like a grid of streets that's just buses every other something.
well, I think they did it in New York City, right? 14th Street, they made
just a pedestrian zone.
pedestrians and buses only, right?
Yeah.
and it seemed like it actually kind of worked.
Seemed very popular.
Yeah.
Just from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. I think car guys need to get on board with the idea that it's okay that there's going to be some places where it just doesn't make sense to have cars. And I think that, as you deal with, there's certain parts of the city you really don't want to drive to anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that keeping cars out of certain areas as a way to manage congestion and make cities a little bit more livable again is something that doesn't have to be threatening to car guys, because they don't want to drive downtown anyway.
I don't need to drive down there anyway. I have places where I like driving.
Exactly.
Yeah. Last question, and then we're going to wrap this up. Stitch 666 says, what are your thoughts on recent breakthroughs with solid state batteries, more energy dense and longer life, using sodium glass instead of lithium? I don't really know anything about them. Yeah. Do you?
Batteries are a really, really tough one. And especially because anybody who knows anything about it is in the business somehow and has their angle. And if you don't know enough about it, you can't figure out their angle. It's just hard to get a good. So you have to talk to a lot of people. I'm still talking to people, trying to understand the solid state thing specifically. I think there are certainly companies who think that there are more advances to be made on basic lithium ion without going to solid state.
Well, Porsche's doing 800 volt, which I think is one way to advance the lithium ion.
Right, and just in the way that like anodes are made, or just like really like it's cell level kind of stuff. They think there's room to continue to improve those, and because there's existing production capacity for those, the argument I've heard is that that's gonna, it's gonna be harder, because like any manufacturing business, you have to have scale to truly get the price down.
Right.
And are we going to invest in an entirely new, at scale network of batteries for solid state, or are we going to,
who's doing solid state? Is it like Ramatz or one of them crazy guys over in who's doing solid states?
A bunch of people. Basically everyone's doing it to some extent.
Is anyone? No one's doing it in any production level car, right?
Not now. No.
Okay.
But I think BMW
says Toyota will use Tokyo Olympics to debut a solid state battery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to learn more about it. I have a tough time with EVs in terms of what is a kilowatt, what is a kilowatt hour, and how do these things work. And so I find myself in my reviews using the manufacturer translations to horsepower, which I know is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's very confusing. I tried to take engineering in college, and I fucking the electrical stuff with it, forget ohms and amps and volts. Like, nope, lost.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, it's it's kind of arcade.
It's tough.
Yeah, and especially when so much of your brain is taken up with how internal combustion cars work.
And among
other things.
Wasn't it like kilowatt is the amount of power that's in the battery, and the kilowatt hour is the amount that can move in and out in 1 hour?
I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
I think
Jason Camisa explained it in a video, but I need to watch it.
I know it's and Fensky did too, and he did a good job. Yeah.
Honestly, the best thing is you don't really even need to know like the details of what all that stuff is. You just kind of need to have a sense of like
more is better.
Right.
Yeah. Once you start getting into like the chemistry of solid state and other whatever materials they're trying to use, it's like that's a job for a smart person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the book, do you want to plug anything before we get out of here? Autonocast?
Yeah, Autonocast.
Which you can get by Googling Autonocast, I imagine.
Yep, Autonocast.com.
Autonocast.com.
Yep.
All right, yeah, Zach's pulling that up. And the book, of course, is called Ludicrous, the Unvarnished Story of Tesla Motors. Is this one for us?
Yeah, that is yours.
Zach, did you read yet?
No, he gave that to me today.
Oh, great. So you get to read it, and then we will do a giveaway on the gram.
Oh, it'll have my DNA on it.
Yeah. It'll have
if
Zach.
You touch it has your DNA.
I'll put some smoking tire stickers in the jacket. Thanks, Ed. That was a great show.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed having you on.
A lot of fun.
I would say full open invite next time you're in LA.
Oh, thank you.
And for those live, you're doing the book thing tomorrow with Ryan?
Yeah.
Where is it?
So it's at LA Ale Works in Hawthorne, 7 to 9 p.m.
You're doing it's a joint book thing.
Yeah, so Ryan has a book called Slow Car Fast. It's about sort of
he promoted on the show.
Yes.
It's about millennial car culture not being dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And so we're going to do a little talk about sort of the intersection of our two books. So automotive enthusiasm and sort of Tesla's role in it. Which is definitely a distinct new element, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll watch the Cybertruck reveal, and we'll drink beer, and it'll be
Cybertruck reveal. We didn't even talk about that. I actually got invited to that, but I'm not going to go because my Lamborghini got rented for a fashion shoot with a premium European fashion brand, and I have to bring it to a downtown location tomorrow from noon until midnight, which sucks, but
it's a great story.
It's cool.
It's a good
no,
excuse.
it sucks for me because I have
my-
to sit there. But it is. I revel in the fact that my car gets a much better day rate than I do, and that bitch earns its keep. It's the first car I've ever had in my life that goes out and earns its own fucking keep.
Just like your Tesla will.
Right? Fuck that. I got a 30-year-old car that has turned a profit this year. Eat a dick, Elon. That's our show. The Smoking Tire Podcast is powered by Shout Engine. Get your own damn podcast at shoutengine.com. It's easy. All you need is a connection to the internet, a microphone, and ideally something to say. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.